Hello, and we should be on. We're just checking all the sound and bits and pieces. All this stuff that goes on. We're just checking everything at the moment. We're just double checking. Anyway, hello, welcome to Band of Badgers. I am Dave, your host for this session. And joining us as our Q&A guest this time is Benjamin LYCETT from CERBERUS Studios. How you doing, Ben?
Good. Hi, how are you?
All good. It's been a strange day today. We've had lots of stuff going on, but nice. So, are you ready for this? We've been talking lots about everything that's been going on, so we're excited. So we should be good.
Likewise, looking forward to questions and talking about my world. And can't get a better evening, really.
Cool. Even better. Oh, I need a beer. I didn't bring a beer. I would have topped it. Joining me as always as co-host is Steve. Steve, how you doing, Steve?
Good, thank you, and good evening. I have a pile of stuff next to me.
So, okay. So I've got a pile of stuff next to me. Good evening.
Yeah,
Hello, good evening, and welcome.
All the stuff that I have, not yet painted. I've got the art cards and everything. So.
Nice.
Well, you're jumping the guns there, Steve. We'll get to that.
I'm excited.
Well, we'll announce that we're painting on Monday. There you go, Steve. There you go. So we're painting on Monday. We'll get there. It's almost here. Anyway, if you have a question for Benjamin about CERBERUS Studios, about the artwork that you can see on the side of the page, I'm not sure which side of the page it's on, but side of the page, the artwork, the miniatures, the books, the audio books, anything and everything related to CERBERUS Studios that we are about to show you, please do put your questions into live chat and we will ask Ben. But if Ben sees your question, he is more than welcome to shout it out and answer it for you. So do keep those questions coming. So with all of that now out of the way, Ben, what we'd like to do is just kind of, what's the elevator pitch? Who are you? What is CERBERUS all about? Go.
Well, very open-ended question. We've only got an hour, you said, right?
Yeah, we've got an hour. So relax, strap in. Here we go.
Well, CERBERUS Studios was born out of my love for all things gaming, and essentially, I'd been gaming since I was a child, 10 years old. Started with my grandfather, and has been carrying on quite happily till my 40s now. And one evening, I was sitting with my now wife and said, "Wouldn't it be wonderful to make this your business?" Yeah. She said, "Why not?" And the rest is history. That's where it was birthed from. I created CERBERUS Studios from that, and combined love of fantasy, love of gaming, and love of history and Greco-Roman and the medieval time periods. So everything I love, I've poured into two different worlds and creating as I'm going along.
Fantastic. So what I mean, other than CERBERUS is the three-headed dog of protecting the gates of the underworld or gates of hell.
Yeah.
What was the other reason? Because your logo, everything that all the artwork and everything I've seen that you've done is just incredibly detailed. So CERBERUS is the three-headed dog, but for you, you've got these three-headed figures. So what is all this? How does that relate?
Well, CERBERUS, I chose CERBERUS again, very closely connected to obviously Greek mythology. Majority of people who are into that sort of genre know who CERBERUS is. It's the perfect figurehead to face a company or whatever you do in games, etc. But I wanted to do a twist on the theme. Mm-hmm. Everyone knew CERBERUS as a three-headed dog. My other background is I'm also a fashion photographer, so I'm used to performers, both male and female, so I wanted to do a nice twist and did a three-headed female head instead. We gave her a very dramatic face mask, etc., just to be something really imposing, but sticking with the trio theme.
It is nice. It's very unique, and it stands out really well. I mean, there's lots of stuff that we've seen across all the product ranges and bits and pieces. Now, I mentioned just in the introduction, it's you've got two IPs. So yes. It's Celestial Affinity and Mortal's Reckoning. Yeah. I'm aware of it. And I think we mentioned on a private chat there's another one coming, maybe?
In the future, maybe. Yeah, but we're going to put forward these two first, okay. And then see where we go.
There are plans, that's good. But yeah, I mentioned you've got comics, you've got the artwork, you've got the miniatures, you've got the audio stories, there's novels, I believe is coming as well.
Yes, coming this year.
how did you decide what to start with, and how has that kind of molded future decisions on everything?
It started with the story more than anything.
Mm.
I sat down and started to pencil a very loose sketch of a story I wanted to tell, which was my main character, Lazarus, who we'll talk about later, obviously. But it started with him, and really the world just started to explode from there. Once I created a key core of characters and their personalities and their backstories and how they interact with one another, it then came to me sitting down and thinking, right, I want to create a world, because I'm designing an RPG game for Mortal's Reckoning to begin with, as well as a tabletop game and board game. So it made me sit down and build a world, which just began to create itself after a while. It just grew and grew and grew till effectively now you could live in my world like people do on Skyrim and many others. I've always been a big fan of GW when I was a child, playing 40k and fantasy. And one of the things I always admired about that business and that business model was that they created a world you loved and you could step into.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of ethos I want to go down in my company as well. It's a case of you love the stories, the characters, you love and love to hate them, and then you get a chance to model them, play with them, whether that be RPG, board game, or tabletop.
That's a nice way of looking at it, actually, because you say, from being a gaming background, and whether it's imagination games, computer games, or stories, fantasy novels, there's always that aspect of exploring new worlds. So every kind of nook and cranny, every corner of the new world, you get to explore. Yeah. So when you're creating something to actually put a story to it, and then you've got the good guys, the bad guys, and an overarching story, which is compelling with them as well. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sold in. And for those of you who don't know, myself and Steve, we've kind of bumped into Ben a few times at various conventions in the UK. Ben is based here in the UK, and there's always a case. He's always friendly. He always says hello. He always talks about his characters. It's not just look at this stuff. And his stand is always really well presented, but he just spends time with pretty much any customer who shows some interest. And there's a whole background there. And this is where it's not just miniatures, it's not just artwork and stuff. There is this binding story across them, which is great. If you spend time to read it, it's fantastic.
I mean, one of the things I really want to echo, and I echo a lot when I speak to people, is this industry is wonderful to work in. It's even more wonderful when you get to create your own things. But the key foundation to this is the community.
Yeah.
Everyone who goes to shows or speaks to me online or just interacting when you're gaming with people, it's about building those relationships and building the love of everything that we're in this hobby for. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I really want to concentrate on is to build a community around Cerberus Studios and the two different IPs, or both, in depending on what your tastes are, to get people involved. That's why it was about the stories for me to begin with. I want people sitting around a table at night talking about the characters and what they think the future stories will be. I want people hating a particular villain because of how heinous they are. This is the whole love of this. And I like people coming up to me on shows and going, right, I love this character. I bought this model whenever. I want to know more. It just helps build this rich world.
Yeah, but exactly. I mean, that's exactly what Steve and we both did, is to buy minis for either our villains in our stories before we were even streaming. And this is before sort of global pandemic and everything else where everyone's locked up at home. But for our villains and for our heroes, it's gorgeous artwork. And once, again, we're practicing our painting, but once we paint them, there's some stuff there that they just look incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
Show, is it?
Every time you do that, Steve, all we see is the guy behind you, who is Lazarus.
Yeah. Right.
That's Lazarus.
There's Lazarus. Yeah.
But the one that drew me in was Raktagar, and that was the art card I was trying to hold up, but failing miserably. So that, if we talk about your stands are immaculate.
Thank you.
Most of the time when you go to shows, it's quietly controlled chaos would be, I suppose, a flattering description of most people's stands. Yours is immaculate.
Thank you.
So I guess that now, that obviously comes out of your fashion photography career.
It's about presentation as well. I mean, I come from a very different angle as well. Because I've been gaming for so long and love everything about this. I try and think what I would want to see when I'm walking around a show or looking at my site or whatever. So I like to try and show you my stuff with how I would like to do it, and if that works, then I'm doing a good job. But I want you to just admire the artwork. I want you to ask questions. Say you love Rectigar, having conversations about with you why you love Rectigar more than the other, and things like this. What makes it so exciting?
Well, so the other thing with the miniatures as well, number one, they're highly detailed. So I haven't painted them yet because I've seen them painted professionally. We'll talk about that in a moment. But there is a dynamic to them. There is a kinetic energy. So particularly with Raktagar, the whole axe swing and everything, there is motion that's been frozen in the resin. So that draws you in, and painted well, it's just beautiful. You put it down on the table.
Yeah.
And pit your players against that's an awesome miniature. And so it's the sculpts and the presentation. I think it goes into everything you've put together. I can't fault what you've put together. The miniatures are really highly detailed, and they are beautiful to behold.
Thank you. It's all about energy and life for these things. I always hark back to everyone knows the famous Chaos Knight from the first Hero Quest, who's standing very, very still, axes either side of him. It's a wonderful nostalgia piece, but it has no life to it. Whenever I create characters or do designs, artwork, down to the miniature, I want to give them life and personality that matches their story. So, for example, Raktagar is in full swing. He's got a beheaded beast below him. You've got Corvina just nonchalantly standing against a column because she's a sultry assassin. There's so many different aspects of personalities that you can reflect in pose, which again does come hand in hand with my background in fashion photography. But even so, posing a line, for example, my two lines, I've got one that's devouring a soldier. I've got another one that's on the rock overseeing the landscape for more prey. It's all about that story, all about that personality.
Yeah. Those are two of my favourite models from the last time we saw you at Games Expo in Birmingham, actually. They were, because I hadn't seen them in the flesh before, and those painted look really, really awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I love the characters and I love the story behind them as well. But obviously, I'm creating some a bit biased, but I do have my own favourites as well as I go along, and it does tend to alternate, especially when I'm writing the stories and releasing the short stories and things, because then I really get into the personality of these things. So it really gives you a bigger insight into the characters that you love.
Yeah,
and those two are not nice pets.
Do you have a tendency to put more effort story-wise into those characters that you have as your favourites?
Yeah, it doesn't start out like that, but as I'm writing, you sort of, this would be a nice bent for them. You go down a different road. I think that's the best way of answering it.
Right.
But I've always got an idea when I create these of what their base foundation personality is. And then as I'm writing, it just starts to explode from there, really. And they come, especially with the two lines, they are killers, they're hunters, and they revel in the kill, sort of thing. Who doesn't enjoy writing about that sort of thing?
There's an element of so what Steve was saying about the minis and the artwork. We've had various images come up as we were talking about that, and one of them is basically the Demon Lord. And if you go to Cerberus Studios' website, the link is in live chat. You'll see it pop up. There is a bit where you introduce Celestial Affinity, and you've got the Demon Lord just standing there. The camera angles are amazing. So again, your photography skills. I'm assuming it's how you kind of capture that energy of a person. But he's kind of standing there very fearless, and he says, and you can kind of imagine this in a movie. This is very cinematic miniatures. When he says, I can smell your fear. Your realm is rank with it. Cower behind your walls. It will do you no good. Mm-hmm. This demon is just, and he's got his arms open. It's just, there is no fear in him. He is going to belittle and stamp on everyone. And when the picture comes back up, I'll pause it. But the detail, there is skin detail on these miniatures. And this isn't a mini. This is a big mini as well. When you see it.
I call it miniature, but it's 230 mil high.
Yeah. This guy is massive, and it is just phenomenal, the amount of detail, and you just see his like pinprick eyes coming through. So here's where this is kind of leading. Is we had a question in chat earlier about who does your 3D models, who creates the 3D models. But then I know that you've had Angel Heraldez paint your minis.
Yeah. Yes.
So he's done some fantastic stuff. He's also, his videos, if you go to his YouTube channel, you can see them there as well. And every now and then he'll put them on Instagram and everything else.
And he's done a video purely on Aronoff and how he painted it as well. So it's an instructional video, which led to the paint sets that I partnered with Artist Opus with, because the tools used in that set are the ones you use to paint him, aside from obviously some airbrushing skills, but they're the ones you can use to paint him up.
And it's fantastic because it is just... There are just tints of colour. So apart from his teeth, which are jutting out, and this look on him, I can't think I've ever seen something like him before.
That's great to hear, because I like to create unique things, and it's harder and harder to do in today's world. It really is. I find that even more so with characters' names. Creating something unique with a name is so difficult because somebody else has used it. The research that goes into names is ridiculous. But with Aronoff himself, he's an amalgamation of so many things that I've seen and loved. The pose itself is very intimidating but very arrogant. His thin chin and his smile is very Joker-esque from Batman. Yeah. You know, I used to love a classic now. I can't believe it's a classic, Legend, if you remember it. Yeah. With the demon in Legend. Tim Curry did an exceptional role as that demon, and he was a massive influence of these sort of things as well.
And actually, while we're just talking, here is the picture. I've pressed pause. Here is the picture that's just come up. And he's face on, and he's got this devilish grin and these pinprick eyeballs you can see. Yeah. It's just stunning. And it like, coming back to we're talking about the 3D models in a sec, but coming back to photography, do you use real people to capture the poses and then that gets transcribed into what the characters are, or is there a mix match of things?
It depends. On the whole, no. It's all done from sketches and how I'd like it portrayed. Except in one case, in Celestial Affinity, you won't have seen this character yet. He'll be coming out this year. But I based him on a friend of mine, and I actually photographed him screaming in a positive way, not in any pain or anything like that, but screaming an order to other soldiers. And I've actually had an artist replicate his exact face on this character. And this character's been created in a complete mirror of him. And that was a real joy for me. And I mean, he's just over the moon with it. So, in answer to your question, on the whole, no, but sometimes something's just right. Yeah. And I do use it.
Because I know there's an artist, Alex Ross, who is a phenomenal artist in the States. He does loads of comics. But he does the same thing. He does very kind of natural-looking superheroes. But he'll get the models in, they'll pose, he'll take a picture, and then he'll work from that. And he'll do a crazy amount of sketches just to kind of capture those bits and pieces. We're getting some more questions coming in as we were talking. I'm just going to hit play back on this thing because he's just staring at me now. So we'll just get that back on. There we go.
One of the things that many people have said, whether I'm doing this business or not, before and now, especially with the male and female form in miniatures, they're normally quite warped to different levels that, you know, some are ridiculous. And one of the things I wanted to do, obviously taking this comic with a pinch of salt, is create some reality to it. Obviously an ogre is not reality, a minotaur isn't reality, but the positions and their contours and their size should be realistic to what you'd think you'd expect in real life. So especially with Emperor Aronoff, because obviously he's, you know, in excess of 20 foot tall in reality. You know, he towers over all, but he's a perfect specimen of war. He's an emperor, so his musculature is perfect. You know, he's armored, he's spiked, everything about him exudes violence. So that sort of thing really works with that. And even if you look at him as a design, nothing's overly large or isn't realistic. The tone of the chest, the six-pack, things like that, they're all real. They're just overdeveloped.
Yeah, there's a very like you said, the biology of how he's put together is just it's too real. That's the frightening aspect. As you say, there's fantasy creatures, and then there are things created from your nightmares, and this is something that you can imagine. This is the king of hell. This is something that is all powerful, and the demons that go with him. We haven't got a picture there because I couldn't fit it all on, but there was a picture there where we see the miniature demons, the normal size miniature demons, and he's standing among them. He's towering above them. It's a great picture. That's the red one, the red set.
In reality, you're talking real. So a minion demon in Celestial Affinity is roughly around 6.5 feet tall. So they come up to just below Aronof's knee, standing tall. So that gives you an illustration of how tall you would be in real life.
That is great. Steve, there was another. I've just lost that last question. What was that one?
So the question we had in chat was, what's your current personal favourite?
As in my personal favourite character?
Yeah, and miniature.
Well, I'm writing a lot of the continued stories at the moment, and I've found a real affinity with Corvina at the moment. Right. My assassin queen. Mm-hmm. I'm penning a lot of short stories and a growing, overarching story for her. So I'm really leaning towards that, dipping into the old stories like Spartacus and things like that with the Roman history. If anyone watched the Stars series, I'll know what I mean.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm leaning towards her at the moment. I tend to find when I'm writing the stories that my loves wax and wane for each one. Corvina is definitely a favourite at the moment. And I have to say, and not because he's my latest release, but my character on the Chariots are cool. Archon Sakul. I've just finished writing his story, and it's really given him a lot of life that echoes in the miniature. And he's definitely a favourite at the moment.
That's a lovely miniature as well, because we've seen that's also in the carousel going around. We've got a picture of the mini itself with the artwork in the back. But it's a full piece. It's the hero on literally a horse-drawn chariot.
Don't get me wrong, this guy's not a hero, by the way. He's a villain. Into the he's in league with the Kyros, who's my main villain in the story. So you don't want to cross swords with this chap.
He again. It's a fan for people who are also into painting minis as a hobby. It's also fantastic pieces for dioramas, just for the joy of painting them, which is another fantastic thing. You mentioned Corvina. Do you have like you mentioned when the artwork is created, there's a certain look in mind, or is that based on model fit real people? You mentioned you got your mate screaming into a camera and then you're taking the snapshot.
With Corvina, she's an amalgamation of ideas that I had from various things I've seen, both past and present, and combining her with her personality to create this exceptionally beautiful, sultry creature that is adored by men and women all around, but not just for her physical form, but also for her mind. She's an all-rounder. That's what makes her so deadly as an assassin, because you fall in love with her mind as well as everything else about her aesthetically. That's what makes her so interesting.
So I've got some bits and pieces. So some of the stuff we have going on that Ben is allowing us to do is, if you don't already know, we have another show called The Great British Brush Off, which is our miniature painting show, where basically a bunch of beginners learn how to paint things. So Ben, as Cerberus Studios, has sent us some samples. Now we've bought these ones before. So these are the older packaging that we've picked up at various shows. So we've still got some of them left to do, and then we've got this one. So this is the one that I was keen to do, is the Amaranthine Guard, because I think this is brilliant and beautiful sculpted, and all of the I don't know if that camera will really pick it up that well, but the sculpts are quite unique. They're not just people standing on their feet. You've got people in battle poses. The bases are sculpted, so they're already dynamic.
And bases were important as well. I didn't want to just provide black black plastic bases.
Yeah.
Yes, they have their purpose and you can create your own bases, but the bases of my miniatures come as resin, bespoke pieces that lend that atmosphere to the personality in the piece. In fact, I've got Leandra here. Just grab her a minute. So there she is.
Yeah. And this is what I mean about the detail on these sculpts. There is so much you can do. Once painted and you do the highlights, the washes, the details, it just pops out.
And also because there's a lot of detail in the resin itself, in the base miniature. One of the things I was concentrated on when creating this business was allowing all people to access it. So it doesn't matter what level of painter you are, you'll always get a piece that you're proud of at the end of the day. So if you can dry brush, you'll always get a nice piece at the end of the day.
I'm still learning,
Brushing is key, and then obviously you say some washes as well. At the very least, you'll have a painted model you're proud of, and obviously you've got people who go almost into professional realms. They're that good. They're pieces of art, and they create some stunning work that I'm enviable of. It's incredible what some people can do.
It is. There's some incredibly talented people out there, and we have some of them on our show. Speaking of which, on Monday, literally, if you're watching this on YouTube, just go find the other video. It'll be a lot easier. If you're watching this now live, thank you for joining us. If you're watching this before Monday, thank you for joining us. We will be painting some of these live on Monday. We basically picked a series of characters that we'll be painting with a group of professional and expert painters, miniature painters. Ben will be joining us as well, so he's just going to hang out and tell us more about the stories while we paint. But also, if you go to Ben's website, there you can also buy the Artist Opus art supplies.
Yes.
Ben also has this texture board, which I'm still going to learn how to use. That is my new goal. But I'm gonna prime it. I'm not gonna varnish it. I decided I'm gonna prime it. And,
okay, what colour?
I have white and grey.
Nice.
So we'll see what it looks like. Hopefully it still look good. But this is the texture board. So this is a new device that is branded Cerberus by Artist Opus, and it's the texture board. So this is something that I'm kind of keen to have a go with. But I love that. It is a shame to have to kind of prime it though. But
and then colour it with different coloured paints.
And then splodge, yeah, blah 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 blah. But
then you can feel like a true artist, there. You see, all your colours are blending in on the board.
I know. It's a whole new world for me. This is taking that, hopefully my miniature painting to a whole new level. It should be fantastic. We've got
if anything, the board will look great.
Well, exactly. It'll be like, what is that? Oh, it's a board. There we go. Steve, were there more questions coming in? There's bits and pieces. I'm not paying much. It's all over to you because I'm not paying much attention.
There was another question that came in. So to give credit to
I'll
people,
put this back.
So Baron was first question regarding the sculpts, and Raja, 2010 I think was the Raja 12 was who your personal favourites, and then the latest question is again from Baron Snowhand. Which character created by someone else would you have most loved to create yourself? Wow,
that's a good question, and that's a difficult one to answer actually.
Well, is there a question created by is there a character created by someone else that you would love to create in your world, or what is the new character coming up? Do you have any new character ideas?
I've got a long list of characters coming out.
So what's the choosing process? How do you go, right, I've got my 20 characters, because you can see them all, I'm going to go with that one. How do you create what's next?
It actually goes hand in hand with what part of the story I'm writing at the moment, because some naturally gravitate into a storyline, which makes it perfect. Well, we'll do that now. But also, just brass tacks, it's what I fancy creating at that time, what I fancy releasing. I've got a long list of characters that I'm hoping to release over the next few months and years. And because of writing the RPG and creating the worlds as well, it's spawned a whole plethora of new characters that is giving me a wealth to choose from and then deliver to you. To answer the original question, because I'm such a fan of Greek mythology and Roman mythology, if I was able to create the original Greek pantheon, I mean, the wealth of characters in that is just phenomenal and wonderful. I'm creating my own pantheon for my own world in Mortals Reckoning. So I'm doing a lot of research into all the Greek gods and the Titans and things like that. So to think, oh, I'll create Poseidon and Zeus. It's just wonderful for me. And then all the other monsters that come with it. I'm having a lot of fun at the moment trying to create something unique for you guys that you haven't seen before with monsters. So I've already have my Claude Volatant that's already out on my shop, which is my blend of a raven and a griffin.
Yeah.
And there's going to be centaurs coming out soon. We've got giants coming out soon. We've got all sorts of wonderful things, but I'm also going to be delivering my own concoctions as well. Cool. So it's so exciting from my point of view, just that there isn't enough time in the day to get everything out to you.
My ears picked up on giants and titans.
Yeah.
So we know what the Aronoth is already big.
Yeah. Well, Aronoth, Celestial Affinity is 54 mil scale, so you need to make that clear from the start. So that's why Aronoth is so big as well, to keep in line with that scale. Mortals Reckoning is 32 mil. Now, my goddess, which is in Mortals Reckoning, that's out at the moment, she stands at 70 mil. Okay. So the Titans that they'll bring out will be a little bit larger than her, but I'm not planning on producing anything Aronoth size at this moment. Okay. Never say never.
Yeah.
It depends on, obviously, you guys and loving the world and what we can do. But yeah, I want the two scales are very different, and I'm doing that on purpose. But giants and titans are coming. They will be large than you've seen currently in the Mortals Reckoning range, just to replicate scale and size. But the beautiful thing about titans is they can be as big and as small as they want to be because they're a celestial being.
I've got, just as you're saying all that, I've got a couple of ideas. So here's my ideas. You're free to use them, no extra cost. There's no cost anyway. But you mentioned I would love to see like a diorama that I could buy in pieces, like Titans. They're pulling the chains of the world up or something like that, and they're snapping. But then as that's breaking, there are two guards charging from either side, like dressed very differently, male, female, whatever. Doesn't have to be even human. And you could buy those different pieces. But as a big kind of diorama thing, I would love that. And turn them into bookends. I would love like fantastic things where everyone's got different like D&D books or Pathfinder books or whatever. I've got a massive collection of books, and bookends have always been a bit meh. They don't hold up the big A4 size books because they're just too big. They're heavy. But you get like a giant or a titan at one end of the book, like and they're just holding, and then you got one at the other end. That would be great, or somehow linking like a chain through it. I've got so many ideas now. Come on, we got.
Have you seen my tower miniature?
Yes.
So the tower's a limited edition release. It's a sizable piece. There's actually...
that was painted by Geek Girl Bookworm, I believe. Is that right?
Well, that particular one wasn't. She bought her own, and she's painted her version that she likes to use to feather off her miniatures on, which is, she did a lovely job. But the one that's on my stand again was painted by Angel Geraldes, again exceptional. But that tower actually is part of, and it will be part of, a diorama-esque miniature, which will be coming out. I can't tell you when, but one of my titans in the story is vanquished by the chap that's just over my shoulder just here. Mm-hmm. And any of you who've been to the shows have seen this banner before. This will be part of a vanquished titan melded into one of the towers. So that'll sort of tickle your fancy a bit. But
that'd be very nice. So we're going to jump around a little bit now. So we've got two IPs. We've got Celestial Affinity and Mortals Reckoning.
Yeah.
What is the difference between the two? So if people will come to your stand for the first time, how do you do you need to distinguish, or how do you distinguish?
Yeah, it's chalk and cheese, really. Mm-hmm. Mortals Reckoning is Greco-Roman fantasy through and through, Greek myths and legends with my own twist and my own story and completely my own world. And then we've got Celestial Affinity, which is a different scale to Mortals to begin with. It's a 54 mil scale, which is key. it's a medieval horror. Again, my own world, but with the bent of the medieval history in it. So you've got knights, you've got then the more celestial beings being the title, humans, werewolves, and vampires, all teaming up together to vanquish the invading demon horde.
Okay, so it is more kind of bad guys trying to team up and get rid of an even badder villain.
In summary, the Celestial Affinity summary story is that humans, vampires, and werewolves have been enemies from day naught. Through the centuries, they've always fought against one another. But then, because of this invading force of demons from another realm, they're forced to create a celestial unity, come together to save themselves and their world. So from my point of view, again, I've loved werewolves from a very young age. Who doesn't like a vampire and the vampire story? I mean, Dracula is one of the best pieces to ever read. So putting all those together and then throw in a bit of the occult history into it as well with demons, and that's where that came from.
So just as you were saying all that, I was like, okay, so when are we getting the RPG game? When are we getting the playable campaign storybooks? Because straight away, that's hooked. You know, that is the film series Underworld was based on a series of books, but again, you've got these ranks of werewolves and vampires, the Lycans and vampires, who have fought throughout history. Mankind barely knows it's going on, and it's nice. There's that kind of world beyond our world that is part of it. And as you said, when these demons turn up, which are an even bigger evil, they stop fighting and go, actually, what are we fighting for?
Exactly.
Because they're going to take it away.
Yeah. Well, one thing I like to tell people is I like to showcase, as you said, all my artwork, my business, my miniatures and everything else. But at the end of the day, Cerberus Studios really is just me. It's just little old me in the kitchen or in my office, just working on all these ideas. And then I've been very fortunate to work with some very talented people to help bring my creations to life. But because it's just me, things take a lot longer to do.
Yeah.
And I am very much in the process of writing very different games, RPGs, board games, tabletop games, etc., that will be coming out. They just take a bit longer because it is just little old me. The RPG, we're hoping to get playtesting by June this year. The skirmish game for Celestial Affinity around the same time as well. And then next year after that, we'll be looking to tabletop games for Mortal's Reckoning. And really, it's all grown through the love of people like yourself and other fans who help build this business and this world, really. Your interest, your thirst for this will help me grow it even more. I'm doing it from a place of love because I love these things, but loving to share it with you and seeing what you do with it allows me then to build and grow it even more and hopefully faster. Because there's so many things on my list I want to share and deliver to you guys. It's physically impossible at the moment.
So is there things on the plan like Patreon or Kickstarter where people can you start small and get that kind of backing?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple of Kickstarters. One was very successful. One previously didn't quite hit the mark, unfortunately. I don't know if it's time of year or what. But a lot of the things that have happened with the business have just grown organically, which is wonderful. And what I want to try and keep doing, to be honest, I want to, as I said at the very, very beginning, it's about the community and building and building and building. So I've got a legion of people who love this world and the other world and talking to me and loving the business that help just keep growing it so people see it with other people. What I always tell people is if you bought my miniatures, paint them and please share them.
Yeah.
You know, share them with me, share them on your social media. I'll share them for you as well. And just keep showing people what you're into, what I love. And it helps grow it all. And then takes me from just little old me in my kitchen to giving you the world, if I can.
No, that's really nice. I love all that because we've spoken about businesses as well, and if you're a regular at Band of Badgers, you know I used to own a comic shop, which brings me nicely on to the next piece. So I got a whole stash of stuff. Just you can't really see it because we're in a square today, but But we also have the Mortal's Reckoning, The Rise of Lazarus, which is a fantastic character. You said it was one of your favourites when you kind of devised him.
He was my first creation.
And we're going to be on the painting on Monday. We're actually going to be starting with Lazarus as well. And Eric Frankhouse, who's the painter, his online name is Lazarus. And he goes, I had to choose it, so that's why. So we'll have he's great at talking, so we won't be able to shut him up about talking about it. But this is a great comic. There's lots of, we've had, again, in the right hand side, there's been loads of kind of pages from the book have been coming up in the background, but it's beautifully presented. The story is great. There's a lot of heart in there, which is what we want to see. The hero who sacrifices himself, and then it just does not work out for him, unfortunately. And in the end,
it does and it doesn't. You got to keep watching to find out. But again, with the comic series, it's something I really want to continue with. The comic is just a nice way to introduce you to my main character, who is Lazarus, who is effectively an anti-hero at the end of the day. But it's a nice little touch just to really throw you into that world from the off. Mm-hmm. And then later on, we can throw you in even further.
Yeah, I there was just something about that I really liked. There was it's a good. It wasn't what I expected, because in here you've got like, as you said, it's very kind of the Greek and Roman, and then we have a lot of kind of buildings where you've got this kind of like almost like an asylum type building. So you've got the bars and the doors. There's a good mix of things going on. But as I said, he does it out of love. He does it out of protection. And get the comic. Again, you can also pick this up on the website as well. So
yes, so the comic comes through with the miniature if you like the miniature, or you can buy the comic separately. Depends on what you enjoy.
Cool. We got some Steve, did you have a question from earlier? Was it your own question, or was it?
No, I asked that one, so I'm just doing a link to the comic actually, so I'm distracted. Sorry.
We've got so I'm just going through the list of questions.
I did have a question about the miniatures actually. So, from a mechanical process point of view, you've obviously come up with the concept of the character, and you said you was lucky enough to work with some talented people. How did you then go about getting the art commissioned, the sculpts done, selecting materials? Because you've gone with resin miniatures.
Yes. We received a few questions on socials about. We always get the questions about how do you get started, and I think it's not just about picking up having an idea. It's who do you talk to?
Yeah, everything starts with, it doesn't matter what business you're in, it all starts with an idea. And the keyword being research. I came into this literally as a hobbyist. I enjoyed playing, I enjoyed miniature painting, and I enjoyed characters, and that's where I came from with this. I had no connection with anything on the business side of things. And it was a case of sitting down and researching from scratch what is involved in terms of creating a business and turning it into what I've got today and growing it. A lot of it was trial and error. A lot of it was talking to the right people. It's about contacts and just finding out what and why people prefer metal to resin to plastic. Well, the costs involved in all of them. Is it better to do it in China? Is it better to do it in the UK? One of the things I always wanted to set out doing was to do everything in the UK. So all my manufacturing processes are done here in the UK. Right. Reason being, I like to control it. Also, British industry, supporting British industry as well. It then spiraled into, okay, we've got the basic research on what I need. It's now who I need. So it's just literally getting on the phone, getting on the email, talking to people, and then building relationships. And again, as I said before, with the community, especially on the business aspect, it's about building relationships. So you then are introduced to other people who can then go from there. And asking the question. When I worked with Angel, it was literally a case of I emailed the man and I asked him a question, and I was lucky enough to say yes to do some work for me.
You did. You got the best there. You really did. And the work that he's done on the miniatures in your stand are awesome. They do what they're supposed to. They draw people in. They really do.
Again, he's an enviable talent, and I've been admiring his work for a very long time. And there's not just Angel, there's so many other people as well out there who I'd be delighted to work with. And as you say, how did I do it? I literally just sent an email and asked a question. What's the worst that can happen? Somebody could say no. That's how I look at it. And if they say no, you say fair enough, and you move on. But lucky enough, he said yes, and many others who I've worked with said yes as well.
Yeah, that's pretty much the approach that we try as well. We just keep asking, and if they say you're not big enough, who are you? We don't need to say, well, we've got something different going on. We're not in the States. We're not a proper studio, but we hopefully are producing as near to professional as we can in what we're delivering, and slowly we're getting people to resound to that, to see what we're doing with the contacts we've made. So yes, I completely agree. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly.
And when they turn around and say yes, you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. And
you're like, really? Yeah. I mean, I've been in a lot of meetings, and they're like, yeah, we want to do that. And I'm like, really? This is like the spare room of the house. This is not, it's not like I have staff or people behind me. I've got Steve.
That's where you practice your poker face.
Yeah.
Inside, you're screaming.
Exactly. Yeah. Hold my calls. Talking to Hasbro or someone else. Yeah, that's fine.
So again, going back to the miniatures, they are multi-parts. If people have that as a question, they are multi-parts. So I took mine apart for the one we're doing on Monday, and I hadn't used epoxy miniatures before, so that was new. So that was a learning process. You have to clean it before you glue it together. Because super glue doesn't work if you have a releasing agent on there, so that was a lesson there. But they went together really well. I haven't put the arms on yet, but all of the little molds and everything are nicely done, and they're clean. So they go together, and they are idiot proof. They are very well made. So your manufacturer has done an excellent job.
Thank you. Again, down to the design process as well. I've grown up putting all sorts of miniatures together from all sorts of places, and when you have to put together a tiny little dagger into something, there's nothing more frustrating. Yeah. So I wanted to deliver miniatures that were easy to put together. For example, Raktagar, as you love, is 3 pieces. Mm-hmm. It's the head of the demon separate, his head separate, and his arms separate. That's it. Then his body.
My other love is aliens, and I do have quite a few alien miniatures, and I can tell you that they are an absolute nightmare to assemble. I spend hours cleaning the joints until they will go together properly.
Well, my minion demons in Celestial Affinity, that a lot of that was influenced by Geiger, because he was an exceptional mind. But for those, my minion miniatures, they're 1 piece, and all you've got to do is put their horns on. That is it. You couldn't get easier. Even Aronoth. Aronoth is simple. His legs are separate, his arms are separate, his head's separate. That's it. And then you put the spikes on whenever you want.
We have we've been talking about the miniatures and things. What is have you looked at 3D printing is the new kind of craze at the moment. But we've had discussions in the past. You want to keep hold of the control, because once you give out the 3D mini, I don't know what it's called, but the 3D mini file, it's gone. Yeah.
It's an element of control, of course, but also 3D printing will always have its place, and there are some exceptional results in 3D printing. But because this is a business and we're producing miniatures on a mass scale, the resin casting is the way forward. Yeah. As you very kindly said, you can see the results of the miniatures. They're clean, they're easy to put together, they're on a sprue, they're done. And that's what we want to keep moving forward as a business. I want to make sure I deliver quality. And with 3D printing, you can see ridge lines, etc. Whereas with my resin casting, we try and hide as much as we can where the mold lines are, and so on and so forth. That's one of the reasons. And it's old school. It's old school industry that provides quality results. And, that ticks everything on the box.
So we had another question from Baron again. He was people are talking, so I got his questions are going off the screen. It basically saying, so we know you love the Greek mythos. What other mythologies are you interested in and would like to work into your worlds? So could you do some kind of mythology crossover?
Yeah, very much so. I love the Nordish culture, Celtic, Viking, that sort of thing. That has had a little bit of an influence in Celestial Affinity with my werewolves. And then I'm also trying to just do some... I'm actually doing a lot of research in the occult at the moment, and people's belief systems in demonologies, religions, and so on. So there's going to be a lot coming out in the future where I'm bringing all these various aspects, and it's creating a lot of interest from my point of view. I've always loved history, but I've got a bookcase now full of what can I describe as some dubious titles. I've got a book... every demon name you can possibly think of, books on the occult and all sorts.
You got the Necronomicon, that's all you need.
Soon.
Yeah.
But then I've got books on angels, and then books on the various different cultures throughout history. In my Immortals Reckoning, there will be eventually a mountain people who very much have a Northman sort of feel about them. Not quite Viking, but very close. So again, a lot of research goes into this, and it's really encouraging me to get into other things as well, because I have loved Greek mythology from a child, but as an adult, and especially doing this and researching, I'm finding love for all sorts of things now.
So we're gonna... Sorry, go on, Steve.
Oh, I was just going to say, because the logo, I was going to say at the beginning, had you been inspired by the Norns? Yeah, because there's three of them.
Yeah.
Which is from Norse mythology.
Yeah. That actually wasn't from that. One of the inspirations from that actually was the three crones who tell your future and have the life. But instead of them being hideous individuals, I made it one person, and she's beautiful with all three faces.
Yeah.
But
that's a nice twist, yeah.
With the research I'm doing, it's incredible how you find so many similarities throughout history in all cultures. I've just been doing a lot of research into Egyptian, Mesopotamian history and Akkadian, and the similarities are just incredible. It's different stories, but the Egyptian pantheon of gods and their stories is so similar to the Greek pantheon and their stories. And then you go into more Asian cultures and things. The similarities are incredible, but so interesting at the same time because they're presented so differently.
But is that because stories have travelled with people, as just as stories that they've passed down over the years? Or do you think there is some other connection where, okay, look, there's the sun, the sun is a god, and everyone comes up with the same thing. There's the sun, there's the moon, everyone experiences it. So they write their own stories.
Mate.
Yeah, right.
And that's a whole new realm of conversation.
Fair enough, that's done. With someone, Sean TW has just said Celtic crossover would be banging. He's also drinking. And says the puka.
The horn with me.
Yeah, I don't know if he has a horn. I think he does, actually.
I think he has a horn because we had it at Christmas.
Yeah, I actually got a horn for Christmas because I love mead. So it's great.
Did you get it at the show? Because there was someone who was selling drinking horns.
A friend of mine got it for me as a surprise.
So it's saying the puka. What's the puka? The puka is the best Celtic creature. The puka. I don't know what a puka is.
I don't know what a puka.
Oh, Google.
We need to do more. We need to do more research.
Spell it right.
Yeah, don't misspell that one. Sean TW, let us know what it is.
I've seen this before.
What is it?
It's like a cat monkey thing.
A cat monkey
with big ears. It might be a rabbit monkey cat.
Was that a cat monkey or a crap monkey?
I don't know how to send this link. I'll leave that. I'll leave people to independently Google that one.
Puka.
But it's a cat monkey rabbit.
Okay.
I will look.
I'm probably subtly insulting his heritage, and I don't mean to, Sean.
We are, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming down to the last few minutes of our hour's time with Benjamin. If you have any last questions, do get them into the live chat. Or if you're having to see this, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much for watching that. Send in questions and we can send them on to Ben. That's fine.
Also communicate with me direct, talk to me on social media, send me emails, let's chat. I really want to build this community. It's really important to me, and just to show you my world.
Yeah, there's more coming as well, because we mentioned you're working on a novel. We've got the audiobooks. Who voices the audiobooks?
Well, again, there's various companies that provide some exquisite talent.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
You'll see on my website there's a couple of audio dramas already available about Corvina, and it's again a case of research, and I find out who I want to. There's some people on my list who I'd love to work with, but their schedules don't really tie in with mine, unfortunately. But yeah, there's a wealth of voice talent out there.
So if this was the animated movie or the cinematic universe, who do you see? Who is going to bring in the audience?
Well, it depends which IP we're talking about.
Okay.
But I would have a short list of people I would really love to see in the film. I mean, one of the real big aspirations and ambitions I've got for this is to take this to Netflix. I've got, especially with the novels I'm writing.
There is so much fantasy now. So go for it.
Well, they've paved the road with Game of Thrones. You've now got the Lord of the Rings series coming out on Prime. You've got the Wheel of Time out on Prime. It's very much a popular genre, and who knows? It's a dream of mine to take my story to there, and you never know. Exactly. When we get to that stage, I'll show you the cast list.
No, there we go. Oh, we got an exclusive. we got one exclusive. There we go.
First of all, can we just build up the two IPs first, and let's see
fine.
where we go.
If you ever do the cartoon, I'll jump in as if you need a London voice, there we got one. I can happily do that.
Well,
I can do it. Oi.
Say that when my RPG's released, we'll have a game of it, and we can go live. We can create your own character.
It's fantastic,
We could do it live, and then you can really lose yourself in your own character then.
Nice one, yeah. So I was just thinking Peter Jackson. So would you do if you got the cinematic going? Would you do a Peter Jackson just kind of walk drunkenly past the camera? Would you do something like, that pub? I'm going to sit in that pub. Action.
I love the camera too much, obviously.
Well, you're a photographer. You're supposed to be behind the camera. You're supposed to be framing everything.
I'm more than happy to be in front of it as well.
Fantastic. Any last questions, Steve? Anything else that's coming in?
Lots of comments about you doing Scouse accents, but yeah.
That happens a lot. Well, we're going to be wrapping up there. This is not the last you've seen of Ben, because, as I said, on Monday, literally, what today is it today? Friday? No, Thursday. Literally, in a few days' time, when we get to Monday, Ben will be back. We will be painting. Ben's going to hang out with us, and while we're painting, he's going to tell us stories. We have to get him to read pages from the book. Here we go, excerpts.
I can give you a little gather around, children, and we can have a
story. If Charles Dance can do it, you can do it. There we go.
He is on my list. I would love Charles Dance. Oh yeah, he
is fantastic. I've been a big fan of him for donkey's years. There's quite a few people, especially the British actors, I think we do really well. We have I think the English tone is very good for villains.
Yeah.
And
Charles Dance is an exceptional villain.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Apart from Last Action Hero, we might forgive him for that one, but
then you just a golden child, and you were great in that. So.
Yeah, fantastic.
And you were a demon. It's perfect.
Yeah. There's some really nice stuff there. So Charles Dance, if you're watching this, do get in touch. With both myself and Ben. And we'll do I don't know what we'll do, but we'll do something. Hey. So we'll be back on Monday doing some mini painting. Keep an eye out on our channel. This will be going live, and we have a whole kind of mini series of painting Cerberus minis, doing these kind of interviews. And you heard it here first. We're going to be at some point playing the RPG when that gets released. Hopefully later this year we'll be back and we'll be doing some more.
Oh yeah, that'll be really fun. That one. Actually, genuinely looking forward to that because I know what's in my world.
You can DM it there. That's fine.
Oh, definitely.
Right. Until next time, folks. We will see you again soon. Stay safe and bye bye.
Bye.